following is a production of Shark Flight Media.
From mechs to mages or agents to argonauts, this is the world of Chris Kennedy Publishing. This is the CKP Future Books Podcast.
Welcome, everybody, to the final podcast of 2023. Man, it has been a great year. We've published a ton of books. I would say, critically, this is the best year that we've had so far. Some really fantastic authors, some really fantastic writing. And we are going to finish off the year talking about our December releases, and we're also going to look ahead to what 2024 brings us. And to do that, we are lucky enough to have our wonderful publisher, Chris Kennedy, with us, and we're going to start off by talking about our December releases. Chris, thank you for coming today.
Hey, thanks for having me. Great to talk with you like always.
Well, I know that time is of the essence. We're in our Thanksgiving week. We try to record these a couple of weeks ahead, and so we're going to just jump right in.
We're running out of time here.
We are. So the first book is going to actually be released on December 1st. And this book here is written by D.T. Reed, who started writing for us, I think, this year. I don't think her first book was the year before.
No, it was last year.
Was it last year?
Running from the Gods was last year.
Oh, okay. So it's the Sergey Chronicles.
Yeah.
And, man, she has been a phenomenal find for CKP. She has a really unique way of writing her books, like no other author that's associated with CKP. And she's in her second series with us, the Sergey Chronicles. The first novels that she did was Seventh Shaman. If you have not read those, you really ought to go back and read them. And this is going to be the third book, Tentacles of Dominion, which has a fabulous cover. Chris, tell us a little bit about it.
Sure will. Just one last thing on her. She published the first 4 books of the Seventh Shaman. And she is back to working on those. That series will ultimately have 7. She is pretty far along on the 5th book, I believe. This series, the Sergey Chronicles, was previously released. It was TradPub published, but it was a while ago, and they gave it up, and I jumped on it because, like you said, I love her work, and she is, she's an outstanding author that writes differently than a lot of our folks, but that's a good thing. And she is a former colonel in the Air Force. So, she understands flying. She understands, military. And so everything's very authentic. And I really love the way she writes. And this series, the Sergey Chronicles, I read the first book and I was like, yep, we're going to publish that. Sure thing. And, the 3 covers on this series, I think, have been wonderful, starting with Ganwald's Child, kind of the Edgar Rice Burroughs sort of look out, over the starport. This one is a little bit less military sci-fi. There's a definite military aspect in it, but it's also more sci-fi thriller. There's a lot of political aspects in it, and it's not exactly what we always do, but it's a great book, and it is well worth picking up and giving it a look. This whole series is, I think I said the second book was my favorite book of this year, and I'm sticking by that.
Isn't it funny that we have this series by D.T. Reed, who has been predominantly an action sci-fi, military sci-fi type author, and she's releasing this book, which has much more of a thriller aspect than we're used to getting from her. And then later in the month, we have Dennis Meyer's new book, which the first book was very much political thriller with some science fiction, and this one's going to be much more action, adventure, military.
Funny how that works, isn't it?
It is.
One last thing on Tentacles of the Dominion. The second book was Echoes of Issel. And between the 3 books, it's a great series. gives you everything you'd want.
And like you said, the covers for this series were some of the best covers of the year. So sometimes, or often you hear the phrase, you can't tell a book by its cover. Well, in this particular case, with this series, you can certainly tell a book by its cover.
You absolutely can. You know exactly what you're getting in all of them.
So then we're going to go to December 8th, and we go to one of my favorite authors, somebody that I have been promoting and is near and dear to my heart, has become a very good friend. John Siers, you know him mostly from the Lunar Free State series, and this book is set within the Lunar Free State. But he is going to take this book and let us get a look into the day-to-day lives of the citizens of Luna and what the people out there or the people on Luna who aren't in the ships are doing. And I will tell you, I have read some of this, and if you're a fan of Andy Weir's Artemis book, which was, I think, the first book he published after The Martian, or you're a fan of Robert Heinlein's Podcane of Mars, man, this is the book for you.
Yeah, I think that this definitely shows his roots in classic sci-fi, and it actually does mention several different books as he goes through. Aphrodite of Luna. Aphrodite is the main character, and she lives on Luna. She's a very smart girl and too smart for her own good, as it turns out. And she gets involved in some things where I don't think the powers that be necessarily took advantage of her, but she gets in well over her head and has to figure a way back out again. This book is set in the Lunar Free State series. It is not one of the mainline novels. It will read very differently because it's first person rather than third person. But John does a really nice job with this.
Yeah, and I think this is the first thing that John's ever written from a first person point of view. So this is going to be really, really good. So
it is.
I strongly recommend this. I recommend anything John writes, and this would be a great book if you have kids or whatever. This could go as an adult or a young adult novel. So there is no downside to this book. So I strongly recommend you buy it. Then on December 15th, we have the novel that is written by our featured artist this month, Michael Morton. This is his first book for CKP. He has written in a number of anthologies prior to this, but this is the first, not necessarily CKP anthologies, just anthologies in general. But this is his first book, first novel for CKP, and he was privileged enough to be able to write within the Four Horsemen universe. It's called Thicker Than Water. I have read this. We're going to talk in detail about this book later on in the podcast, but this is not just a good first book. This is a great book, period, and I enjoyed it. Tell us a little bit about it, Chris.
Yeah, I don't want to steal a lot of your thunder, but I will say that this is a great first book for us. Kevin Ikenberry was kind of guiding him, so he was keeping an eye on him, making sure that it stayed within the boundaries of the Four Horsemen universe, and that it played into things that we're going to be doing, over the course of the next year in the Four Horsemen universe. The Phoenix Initiative is all about setting up things that are to come. The one before this, Winged Hussars, Andromeda, gave a lot of the answers that people have been looking for, and so now we're starting to move toward so what are we going to do about it now that we have these answers? What next? And we're getting to that. And, this is also going to help propel it toward that direction.
So I'm not going to speak much more about this because we want to save that for the interview, but Thicker Than Water, Four Horsemen book, action adventure, great book. If you love Four Horsemen, you can't go wrong. And like I said, this is a completely new voice in that universe. On December the 22nd, we have Dennis Meyer's, I believe it's his second book in the Rise of the Automated Empire. third book of the Rise of the Automated Empire.
Yep. Final Assembly, Precipice. And now we've gone over the precipice and we're into Broken Trust.
Broken Trust. So the third book. And this series is a little different than most of the books that we publish. Very much like D.T. Reed, Dennis Myers has his own voice, and he writes a really great story. This would be a great book to go ahead and get and take with you to the family gatherings that you've got to go to. This will be a great read for when you are recovering from the turkey and the ham and all the Christmas stuff. December 22nd, Absolutely. Broken Trust. Tell us a bit about it, Chris.
Well, like I said, we've passed the precipice, and I think what you said earlier, how it starts out mostly political and then turns more action is right on. You can tell from the cover of the book that there's action involved. It just so happens that I put out the cover today, so everyone's gotten a chance to look at it. It's a gorgeous cover. It's it's got the main character Dawn, who was the same person from the very first cover. If you remember the girl with wings. Now she has a laser rifle, so she's kind of changed her outlook on some of this.
So I will strongly recommend this book. This has been for me the most surprising author that we've added to the fold this year, and his stuff is really good.
And for those that are more of a bent of kind of hard sci-fi, Dennis writes more to the hard sci-fi end of things. So it kind of broadens CKP, and I'm real happy to have him along.
And he's a great world builder. That's the thing that stuck out to me about what he's written so far is the fact that you want to know not just more about the characters, you want to know more about the worlds that he's writing about. He's a really good fit for CKP.
Yeah, there are a lot of places he could go in his universe. There are a lot of things that are to be explored. What's going on Earth, what's going on in the lower orbit things. There's all sorts of neat things going on that get touched on a little that could be their own series. So I'm hoping that we'll get to see some of those.
And then we get to finish out the year, and I think it's particularly apt with a William Frisbee novel, Wolf Emperor. William has been writing a series called The Last Marines, and I would say outside of the Four Horsemen universe, possibly the best action science fiction that we've put out. His books are really good. They grab you. There's never a dull moment. It's just pure action from the word go. You get totally involved with the characters, and I think this is his 8th book in this series. So tell us a little bit about it.
It absolutely is, and Bill has done so well with these that at FactoryCon this year he was awarded the trophy for best-selling author, and it was totally on the backs of the Last Marine series, which not only is a great commercial success, but also is just a darn fun series. Every time it comes up, for me to read, I'm looking forward to it a couple books out, because I get to jump into it and be, one of the first ones to read it before anybody else. And I really like this series. This is his second arc. The first arc was 1 through 6, and now he's got 7 through 10 coming up, that are being released. As we sit here right before Thanksgiving, number 7 is coming out on Friday. So this will be the one to follow that. The Last Marines have been successful somewhat. Now they're trying to figure out, not only now that they're in charge, how do they hold on to it and still, keep moving forward, pressing the war against the Van Hat. Everything's against them. There's now AIs that are fighting back, and it's just the few of them, and they gotta get everybody to play nicely with each other, or humanity has no chance.
Yeah. And I don't know this, and I may end up after this statement with a lot of egg on my face, but I assume that Bill's series probably is doing well overseas also.
It is. It's done well in Germany. The covers are great and certainly pull people in. The last one, Valhalla Awaits, which was the number 6, which came out not this year, but right at the end of last year, was my favorite cover of the year.
Was that the one with the big red alien?
It's got a dragon, and the last Marine is holding its jaws open.
That's right. That was a great cover.
Like I said, my favorite from 2022.
Well, I can't say enough good things about Bill's series, and like I said, outside of the Four Horsemen universe, probably the most successful series we publish. And so this will be a great way to end your year. Give yourself a New Year's present and get this, and bring in the New Year's if you're a military science fiction fan, with a bang by purchasing Wolf Emperor.
Absolutely. Great series. Can't recommend it enough.
Yeah. And so that will finish out 2023 for CKP. Man, it's been a great year. We published a few less books, but the quality, I think, doubled at least. Our authors are amazing and some of the best writers in the business. I don't think we could have asked for a better year.
I don't think so either. I've been really proud of everything that the company's done and produced. The works are great. The art continues to, just be top notch. Looking forward to doing everything plus some, here next year.
So next year, you mentioned a little bit, maybe you can expound a little bit this month. We're going to add a shopping section to the website, which will allow people to purchase some of our back catalog and purchase collections. What else? Talk some about that, and tell us some other things, whatever you're allowed to, about what 2024 looks like for CKP.
Sure. On the story side, you can expect the same things that CKP's been producing, top quality sci-fi, mil sci-fi. That won't change. We're looking to probably build out the fantasy side a little bit more next year. We've got some great things coming. I know, a couple of the names that you would know well have fantasy books that they're looking to get out. So that'll continue. The neat thing is that we're going to have a new way to consume it. By the time everyone hears this, the website sales will have started. You'll be able to buy, books from off of the website. The first 50 should be up. And that is predominantly backlist stuff as we look to build it out. The neat thing is it'll give us the ability to run sales, to do things, across the entire planet. Right now, based on some of the rules that Amazon has, I can only lower prices sometimes in one place and not another. And, I know that causes some frustration to people that don't live in the U.S. How come the U.S. gets this and we don't?
Absolutely.
And that's not fair.
No, it's not.
And I totally get that. It's just the way that Amazon has things set up. So that'll give us the ability to fix that and have kind of a level playing field. So I'm looking forward to that. That'll give us the ability to bundle different things, bundle stories. I know one of the things we want to do is have like a CKP author starter set where you get a bundle of, first books for a number of different series by different authors all in one place, so you can try them all out and, at a good price and see what you like and want to continue with. It'll give us the ability to bundle like ebooks and audiobooks. I know some people like to get both the ebook and the audiobook. One of the things we'll be able to do is sell audio ourselves, which right now the ones that are on ACX and Audible, I don't have any control over. They run prices when they want to. They do things that they want to, I'm bringing a lot of it back to our control so that we can run decent sales and put things together and, make a box set of audiobooks almost, so there's lots of things that we're looking forward to doing here in the upcoming year that until now we just haven't had the ability to do. Like I said, by Thanksgiving weekend, we're hoping to have our very own Black Friday sale, and we'll go from there. I realize it'll be a little late for everybody that's listening to this, but it'll be something that we'll build on all throughout 2024, and we'll get more and more books up there, and bring them over. My web designer wants to do a website for the foreign language books.
Oh, that's a good idea.
So people that, are interested in French and German and Spanish books, will be able to get their favorite titles in, languages other than English. So that's where we're going, on the tech side, more access, in trying to bring things kind of back in our control so that we can help out our readers and give them the books in the formats that they want and, have the ability to consume them how and where they want to.
I think this is going to be a big benefit to CKP.
I think so as well.
And give us a lot of ability to personalize our service to our customers. Absolutely.
And speaking of personalizing, by the time everyone hears this, it will be no surprise that FactoryCon will return next year. I wasn't sure that we were going to bring it back for 2024, but I had so many people at the last one that said, hey, we really enjoy this. We really want to do this again. What can we do to help out? And I had so many people volunteer to help that I'm like, okay, well, this will be a whole lot easier. And yes, we can do it again. And we will. There will be a FactoryCon 2024.
That's great, and I think there's some plans in place to make the ability for our readers to be able to come a little more streamlined. So it's going to be a lot easier. We're going to put a lot more information out this next year about FactoryCon also.
And one of the neat things of FactoryCon is, just the chance to hang out without having panels and other things like a normal con. You get a lot more personal attention. There's games, there's book sale. This year, we're actually moving FactoryCon about 2 weeks to the right on the schedule. It's going to be the first week in November, the first weekend in November. And our book sale, we do kind of a book sale on Saturday. It's going to be a book sale and craft fair. So people can come and get a little of their Christmas shopping done too, a little early. So there'll be a lot of different things there that people will have. And it's going to be just a lot of fun like it always has been.
Well, I look forward to that also. And it sounds like we're going to have a full year this year. I look forward to everything we do. I want to say that the past 2 years have been great for me, and I appreciate the opportunity to do the podcast. And my relationship with you has been absolutely wonderful, and I hope we can continue through next year, and that it's bigger and better every year, just like the World's Fair.
Well, I'm happy to announce that future books will be back for 2024, and I'll look forward to doing this all again, next year with you and getting books out to everybody and just continuing to grow and do bigger and better things.
Well, thank you so much. I know you're busy, so we're going to go ahead and wrap this up and look forward to doing this again in 2024.
Woohoo!
Thanks, everyone, for listening to the first half of the podcast. Now it's time for us to have a conversation with this month's featured author. We're going to end the year with a new author to CKP and a relatively new novelist. I think this is his second novel. It's Michael Morton. He's retired Air Force. He also has been in a number of anthologies, and I think he's friends with someone we all know, Mr. Kevin Ikenberry, and he has started his relationship with CKP with a Four Horsemen universe novel called Thicker Than Water. I was fortunate to get a pre-release copy. It is a fabulous book. Strongly recommend everybody to buy it. It's going to be released on December 15th. Welcome, Michael, to the Future Books podcast.
Hey, Randall. Thanks for having me on.
Well, it's a pleasure and a privilege. As I was saying to you off air, I would have had no idea that this is your second novel. It is so good, and I was very happy when I get to the end of the book, and it leads me to believe that there's more to come. You refer at the end of the book to several of my favorite long-term characters in the Four Horsemen universe, and I can't wait to see where this goes. How did you get the idea to write a novel in the Four Horsemen universe?
As you mentioned, I'm friends with Kevin. I actually met him outside of writing first. He's a former Army. I'm former Air Force. We're both involved in space. And so we were involved in a conversation about that. And then he mentioned that he wrote just, casually offhand like Kevin does. And so I went and looked up his books, and I'm like, wow, this is great. But I got into writing separately from Kevin. But we connected at Fantasy after the first one after COVID. And, I just was working my way through the writing community and trying to figure out, what do I need to do? How do I navigate this new world for me? And the year before last at Fantasy, Kevin pulled me aside and said, hey, Mike, we're doing this thing called the Phoenix Initiative for new authors in the CKP Four Horsemen universe. And we want you to write for that. And let me tell you, that just blew my mind. Because up until that point, the only thing I had been in was anthologies. I was working on my first book, Silent Violence, but I hadn't published it yet. So that just, like I said, that just blew me away that Kevin himself would invite me to write in the Four Horsemen universe.
Yeah, we refer to Kevin and Chris and Mark Wandry as the three wise men of CKP.
Yeah.
They all three of them are great writers, and beyond that, just stellar individuals. So you couldn't surround yourself with a better group of people. So you mentioned the Silent Violence?
Yes.
How long ago was that written?
So that came out last September, and it was my first book written in the Fallen Empire universe over at Canon Publishing. So it's kind of similar. It follows the adventures of a newly formed mercenary company. This one, they're former Marines, and not just any kind of Marines. They are kind of like the Force Recon equivalent of Marines, in that they specialize in microgravity and vacuum operations, and they have specialized personal armor suits to do that. So so that gave me some familiarity with writing a mercenary unit in the Four Horsemen universe.
Mm-hmm. And is that still available?
It is. It is available on Amazon.
So if anybody wants to read something else by Michael to whet their appetite for when his book comes out on the 15th, Silent Violence on Amazon.com. So I assume by the way the book ends that you are planning on writing some more novels with this mercenary company that you've created?
I would absolutely love to write more novels with Danny Prescott and Prescott Defense Services, which is his family's unit. I'm hoping that the readers agree and that they'll vote with their dollars and tell Chris and Mark that they should order more books from me.
Well, I don't think that's going to be a problem. I think this book is going to be widely received. Well, since you mentioned Prescott Defense Services and the family, why don't you tell our listeners like the elevator story or the elevator pitch for your novel? Give them an idea of what they're going to be buying without giving away any spoilers.
Sure. So the main character, Danny Prescott, is just graduated college. He's the first Prescott in his family to go to college, so it was kind of a big deal. But what Danny really wants to do, since he grew up in a mercenary unit, is to now join as a full-fledged member. He wants to, use everything that he's learned. He got a business administration degree in college, and he wants to learn all aspects of being a mercenary, so that when the time comes, he can take over for his father. So he gets back home, and he's, reconnecting with everybody that, since he's been away for 4 years, but he's finding things are off. That just things don't fit right. They're not how he remembers, and it's not just because he's been away for 4 years. And he's noticing that his father, Jack, is less involved in the unit's affairs. But what's really troubling is nobody wants to talk about what's wrong, right? And so he has to push and pull to try and figure out what is going on with his family's unit. And then when he learns about the problems, and I won't reveal those right now, he realizes that he has to fix it himself. He's the only one who is motivated to go out there and get things done. And it just so happens that there's a very lucrative strike contract for the Merchant Guild ready for them to go and take place, and for them to get out there and make their name again in the universe. The only problem is his father doesn't want to bid on it. So Danny decides that he's going to have to go behind his dad's back and do this himself with the few select people that he's gathered around him from the unit, and get back out there.
Yeah, let me interrupt just a second. I want to say that the old hands that he surrounds himself with, I particularly identified and really enjoyed all those characters. They were three-dimensional, and they were all so well written. They felt like somebody you actually knew. So that was an outstanding job with the four old hands that he surrounds himself with.
Well, yeah, thank you. I put a lot of work into those people because, yes, I'm a voracious reader myself, and I've read plenty of books where the other characters were just cardboard, just stand-ins, and I didn't want that to happen. So, thanks. I really appreciate that.
So anyway, go ahead with your story. I wanted to say that before I forgot about it, because
Sure.
Those characters really left an impression on me.
Which one was your favorite?
It's between the female logistics head.
Fingers.
Right, and the one that I can't say anything about because it'll spoil something in the story.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
But those two there, I thought they were incredibly well written.
Okay, yeah. So anyway, so Danny goes behind his dad's back. He gets the strike contract for the Merchant Guild, and he sneaks off planet with the needed Caspers to go out there and get some money to save his family's unit. The only problem is while he's out there, fulfilling the contract, an old family enemy it jumps into the fray and kidnaps his father, while his father is off inspecting another portion of the unit. And so not only now does Danny have to complete the contract he's on, he's got to figure out how to rescue his father. And so that's where it all comes to a head, as you were pointing out. And it was that final fight scene was a blast to write, because I really had to dig down and figure out something that was more than just a gunfight in the streets.
I also want to say that your ending of the book, it really amazed me. Usually, like you said, I also am a voracious reader. And in my experience, most of the time, no more than a third of the book in, I kind of know how it's going to end. And you really surprised me with your ending, and did not take the easy way out, and made the book so much better with the way that you tie things together at the end of the book, which I can't say much more about because it's so good. I want people to experience it for themselves.
Well, so I'll tell you this. I do have permission from Kevin to reveal a few elements of that epilogue, because he wants the readers to know that the Four Horsemen is continuing on with those characters.
Well, I'll let you say what you feel comfortable saying, but sure. I just want to say you did not take the easy ending.
So for those who are going to buy the book and get all the way through to the epilogue, you will see the reappearance of Snowman, and you will learn more about what his plans are. and how he's going to move forward. So I tell you, it is worth the read to get to that epilogue. But the epilogue itself, like you said, that is just a fantastic ending. And I have all thanks to Kevin for helping me write that.
Well, like I said, it knocked my socks off. It wasn't what I was expecting. And I get to the epilogue and I start reading it and I'm like, okay, he's just going to tie the loose ends together and kind of point me toward where we're going to be in the next book or whatever. And then I'm like, oh my God, I was not expecting this. So, in this particular case, the cost of this book for the readers, the juice is worth the squeeze just for the last 10 pages. It occurs to me that for Kevin and Chris to allow you to have that ending, they placed a great deal of trust in you, especially for someone who this is their first novel for CKP and in the Four Horsemen universe. So that had to be particularly a particularly proud moment for you.
Oh yes, yeah. Well, I as my mentor, I ran the book by Kevin, and this was before the epilogue was added. And I said, hey, I'm looking for some feedback here. Please help me improve. And he had a few minor suggestions, but he said, we need to do something for the ending. And so he suggested a few things. We went back and forth and finalized the details of what it was. And then I wrote it out. And yeah, he gave me two thumbs up, and he said, yep, that's exactly what we want to tell people about what's going on.
What does your future look like? Are you already starting your next book, or are you kind of on hiatus until you see how this one goes, or where are we at?
So yeah, I'm already starting on my next book. And as a matter of fact, I just had another story picked up in the Three Ravens anthology. It came from the Trailer Park Volume 3. So if you like comedic horror, those are great books to pick up. But yeah, I've started on my next series of books. This is a trilogy also for Three Ravens. It's in the Car Wars universe. So if you're familiar with that old tabletop game, yes. Hillbilly, he was able to get permission from Steve Jackson to write fiction in the new Car Wars instantiation, the new 6th edition. So there's 5 of us core authors that are writing in this cross-country road rally that's taking place because interest in auto dueling has fallen. And so they're trying to drum up attention. So they came up with this idea of a road rally. So each of the 5 different authors is picking a different city to start from. I live in Colorado, so my racers are starting in Denver. But everybody, by the end of the trilogy, is going to end up in Sturgis, where there's going to be a big surprise.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah, so that's what I'm working on right now.
Yeah, I remember Car Wars being sold out of plastic Ziploc bags when I was a kid. So it's been around for a while.
Yes.
Tell our listeners where they can keep up with you. Do you have a social media presence? I know that you're on CKP.com, but I mean, do you have like your own website, or are you available on Facebook so people can keep track of when you've got new books coming out and see covers and things of that nature?
Yeah. So I am very active on Facebook. I have both my personal page and an author page available. So that's where I post all my information on what's coming up. But I also try to do because I'm a space guy. I was 20 years a space operations officer in the Air Force, and now I work for the Space Force as a civilian. So I'm very, very interested in what's going on in the world of space. So I try and also post every week or so information about what's happening in the commercial space world. And just try and keep people abreast of not only what's happening, but what does this mean for the future of commercial space. So I hope people will like to read that as well. But so you can find me. It's just Michael Morton or Michael Morton Author on Facebook. And I also have, they're tied to my Instagram, so they'll be on Instagram as well.
And one of the questions I like to ask the authors on here, and I guess I should have prepped you for this. If you were going to recommend a book that has really affected you and that you really identify with as far as science fiction or any other genre, if you bumped into them at a mall and they said, "Well, you're an author, what should I read?" What would you recommend?
Well, I could always go with a really good answer that I think a lot of people would give, which is Starship Troopers by Robert Heinlein.
Absolutely.
that just grabs you and not only tells a great story, but it makes you think about why soldiers fight. But actually, I would say if I had to recommend one book that I would recommend to anybody, it actually wouldn't be a science fiction book. It would be a fantasy book. And it would be The Deed of Paxenarian by Elizabeth Moon.
Oh, I haven't read that.
It's actually, it's actually a trilogy, but it is some of the best writing that I have ever seen that explores all aspects of the fantasy life. It should be, in my mind, it should be required reading for anyone who wants to play Dungeons and Dragons, because it just explores everything within that world. But Elizabeth Moon creates such wonderful characters, and you really get deep into what they're trying to accomplish, and they have valid reasons for what they're trying to do. You don't scratch your head wondering what's going on in the book.
Well, there you have it, folks. Elizabeth Moon, and what was the name of the trilogy again?
Trilogy is called let's see here. I've got it on my bookshelf, of course. The first book is called Sheep Farmer's Daughter, but the trilogy is called The Deed of Paxenarian. The Deed of Paxenarian.
And is there anything else that we haven't covered that you'd like to comment on or discuss before we wrap up for the night?
No. Again, if you like the book as half as much as it sounds like Randall enjoyed it, please buy it, and please let the three wise men know that you want to hear more about Prescott and their actions going forward.
And this is going to be released on December the 15th. So if you get this book, it'll give you something to read while you're driving around all your Christmas activities, by Michael Morton. It's called Thicker Than Water. It's in the Four Horsemen universe, and it gets my seal of approval. It is a great book. You should buy it. If you're a fan of the Four Horsemen universe, and especially with all of the new things that are happening in the universe with the Phoenix Initiative, this is a great book to buy. Michael, thank you so much for joining us tonight and taking time out of your busy schedule to talk to us about your new book.
Well, thank you, Randall. I really appreciate you having me on.
You've been listening to the CKP Future Books podcast with host Randall Willis. If you enjoyed this podcast, please consider leaving it a review on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you subscribe. Show likes and channel subscriptions are also much appreciated on the CKP YouTube channel. Finally, if you'd like to know more about this author or others on the CKP roster, visit chriskennedypublishing.com. Thanks for listening to the CKP Future Books podcast. We'll see you next time.